friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. We're back today with another pantry mix. This time we're going to be making a master mix for scones, and then we will show you how to turn that master mix into some blueberry scones today, but you can certainly use whatever mix-ins that you would like. This recipe will be featured in our Mix and Jars Volume 2 cookbook. That giveaway is still open. You can access it in the description box below, or go ahead and comment scones, and I will send you the link directly to your comment. Okay, so to get started, we're going to start with our master mix, which we will store in a half-gallon jar. And that starts with 1 cup of sugar. Next is our flour, and it takes a lot of flour. Like I said, we're going to be making a half-gallon jar, and we need 7 3/4 cup of flour. This master mix is going to allow you to make 3 to 4 batches of scones per mix. So 7 3/4 cup of flour. Next is going to be baking powder. We really like Rumford. It is aluminum free, and you need 1/4 cup of baking powder. Next is salt, and we need 4 teaspoons of salt, which sounds like a ton of salt, but remember this is going to fill a half-gallon jar, so it's not that much per serving. And finally, for our master mix, we need granulated orange peel. Now, this is easily something that you can do in your dehydrator. You don't need a freeze dryer for this. So all you would have to do is slice up your onion peels and dehydrate them, and then basically powder them. But you need 2 tablespoons of the dried onion peel. Then give that a good whisk until it's all nice and uniform, and then fill it into your half-gallon mason jar. I like to store in mason jars because they're very easy to vacuum seal, but you can certainly store this in any kind of pantry container that you have. I just recommend that it is one of those airtight type ones. To vacuum seal, we have a whole video dedicated to different options for that. I'll link that down in the description box below. To make a batch of scones, you need 2 1/4 cup of your scone mix. Put that into a mixing bowl, and then we need half a cup, well, just 1 stick of cold butter, and you want to grate that. Now, I'm using my food processor, and as you saw the blade that I was using, but you can absolutely hand grate this. You could even dice this up finely with a knife and then cut it in with a fork later on if you don't have a food processor or if you don't have a grater. But as you can see in just a minute, as you watch this happen, it literally is done in like 20 seconds and just makes the whole process go quicker. So once that butter, it looks a whole lot like mozzarella cheese at this point, but once you've got that butter nice and cut up, go ahead and mix that into the mix that we had in our mixing bowl. I usually sometimes will get my fingers in there and really get it nice and crumbly, but basically you want the mixture to look like a crumbly cornmeal almost. But once your butter is cut in, we can add our other liquid ingredients, and that's going to be heavy cream. We need half a cup of heavy cream. You can use milk, but I do recommend using heavy cream if you can swing it. After that, we need 1 egg, and then about a teaspoon of vanilla extract, but if you're friends of the channel, you know I don't ever measure when it comes to vanilla, so just a little pour will do it. And then give that all a good stir, and then we can add in our blueberries. I do typically switch from spatula to hand because it just works the dough a lot better. Here's what the finished product should look like before we add in our mix-ins. I mentioned earlier that we're going to be making blueberry scones, but at this point you can use whatever you like. You just need 1 cup of mix-ins, whether that's raspberries or cherries, cranberries, blueberries, just 1 cup of whatever sort of mix-ins that you would like. And then fold those in kind of like you're kneading a bread or kneading dough for biscuits. Just kind of fold those in with your hands and get it all nice and incorporated. Once that's nice and incorporated, you can flour your surface, although I will say this was way too much flour. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes I can't tell how much a dough is going to take up flour, and I way overdid it on this one. You'll see me kind of scoot it up out of the way. Some days it seems like it takes up more, and some days it doesn't. Probably has to do with like environmental humidity. I don't know, but that was way too much flour. But go ahead, flour your surface, and then get it into a nice little ball. And basically what we're going to do is just shape this into a flat circle. About, I don't know, maybe an inch or so thick, maybe 3/4 of an inch thick. But you just want to get a circle that's big enough to get 8 decent sized slices, but I would say it's about 3/4 to 1 inch thick. Here's what that looks like. I like to use my bread dough cutter and just go ahead and cut it in half, and then cut it in fourths, and then cut each of those pieces in half for a total of 8 slices. Once they're all nice and sliced, you're ready to put them on a baking sheet, and we do need to freeze them first. Look how good that looks. It almost looks good enough to eat, but it's raw, so we can't. But I usually will put this on parchment paper. I did not have any, but parchment paper would be ideal. But we need to freeze these for 15 minutes. That's very, very important. What that does is make it retain their shape versus that butter being all melty and them just going splat. So at this point, I will preheat my oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for 15 minutes. And then while that oven is preheating and while the scones are in the freezer, I will go ahead and just do a quick clean of the kitchen, because we have to sit there and wait for them to freeze for 15 minutes anyway. And that's about how long it takes the oven to get up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. So I just like to get a quick clean, and it's usually done by the time I'm ready to put the scones in the oven. Once those 15 minutes are up, the scones are ready to come out of the freezer and go into the oven and bake for 20 minutes. Bake for 20 minutes, or until the edges are nice and golden brown. What you see here is our master frosting mix. We have a video on how to make this. I will link that down in the description box below. It is also in Mix and Jars Volume 1 cookbook. But I don't, as you see, I didn't measure. I just add some powder, add some water, and you just make it as thick as you like. If you want a nice thick icing like cinnamon rolls, then use less water. I wanted to be able to use this as a glaze, and so I went with a thinner type of consistency so that I could brush it on, and it would be more of a very thin glaze that would cover the entire scone. But it's very adjustable, very customizable with that master mix, as much water as you want, depending on how thick you want your icing. Okay, y'all, I hope y'all enjoy these. Our family loves these scones. This will be featured in Mix and Jars Volume 2. Enter the giveaway if you have not already. Comment scones, and I'll send you the giveaway link directly. That's all for today. Bye!